Hey, I'm Riggers. Thanks for dropping in to today's video where I'm going to talk about the games that I completed in 2020. I have mentioned before that I keep a chronological list of all the games I get to the completion point of, in order of when I completed them and what platform they were on and all the details, just because I think it's an interesting sort of nerdy statistic type data set for me to sort of look through, see what I was playing over certain periods of time, how many games I was able to finish in each year, what I can look back and see what platforms I preferred in any individual period of time. And I've been doing this, like I say, since 2020. So this is the year I'm going to start these videos at. Of course, this was the year of lockdown. Let's just dive right into it. I've got my list here. Let's have a look. I'm going to keep it off camera because, of course, it'd be pretty boring if you could see it all straight away. Well, the first game I've got listed here is Yakuza Kiwami on the PC. It says I completed it the 31st of January 2020. My memories of that game are that I think I started it briefly in 2019, didn't get back to it for a while, and then I absolutely hammered it in 2020. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I remember really enjoying the game because I'd previously enjoyed Yakuza 0 a lot in late summer 2019. I mean, I enjoyed everything about those older Yakuza games. The beat 'em up combat, the darker storytelling. It's a franchise that I think has largely lost its way and have no interest in anymore, but those Yakuza games were fantastic. And I remember, because the Yakuza games have this great sort of, you climb up to the top of a tower, fight all these waves of enemies, have all these bosses, and some of them had like crazy bosses where you have health bar after health bar after health bar. And I remember I was up to the last part of the last boss after doing so many other bosses before that, and the game just wouldn't end. I was like, just stop. I don't have. I'm gonna like die and have to redo it all at this rate because I'd run out of healing items. I remember it was like my fifth or sixth time, I think. I don't know, maybe third or fourth. I don't know. I've tried a few times. The very, very, very final boss of the game, and I was trying to strategize, use all the destructible items in the room to hit him over the head with, and trying so many different plans and strategies. And I can't remember exactly what I did, but there was this one time I think I'd finally defeated him by smashing enough chairs over his head or whatever it was. And I was just very satisfied. I was like, oh, thank God. That strategy worked. And I was just very satisfied. Like, it's over. It was very satisfying. It's always a sense of euphoria, isn't it? When you do that last level, you beat that final boss, when you win that last race in a game. And it was a strong start to the year in terms of finishing games. The second one I completed was just a few weeks before we entered lockdown here in the UK, and it was Final Fantasy 13. I will mention specifically if it's a game I have already completed. I can't see any on this list so far. I'm not sure there were any on this list that I'd previously completed before. So I think everything on this list should be, I think, yeah, every single game in 2020 was a game I hadn't already completed before. So, yeah, Final Fantasy 13. I originally started that playthrough back in 2018. I grew up with the 13 universe. I played 13-2 and Lightning Returns as a kid. Absolutely loved them. But even though I knew the story of 13 heavily, I'd never done a full playthrough of it myself. So I was really happy to finally finish that game off. And I enjoyed seeing that through to its end, finally doing that game's final boss. I had a wonderful time with all the game's characters. I found it really immersive. That game was a great comfort to me in early 2020. Yeah, it was a strong, fun memory to have just before entering into lockdown. And I did start a 13-2 playthrough right after I finished my 13 playthrough. And that coincides with the next thing on the list, which is Pokemon Sword, which it says I completed the 4th of April 2020. Did I mention the previous date, Final Fantasy 13? 7th of March 2020. Oh, Xbox 360, I didn't mention the platform, that was it. Pokemon Sword, 4th of April 2020 on my turquoise blue Switch Lite, which I'd got on the 19th of March. And at that same point, I was playing 13.2, so I decided a new playthrough of that. And yeah, I got my Switch for the first time in March 2020, and I I loved it. I hadn't had a Pokemon game since Pokemon Pearl as a kid, so I was so immersed. I felt like a little 9-year-old kid again. I loved it. I loved going to all the gyms, traveling across the world, doing the whole Pokemon thing. It was absolute bliss, especially with the world being confusing and everything back then. Pokemon Sword was an absolute comfort blanket. I adored it. Animal Crossing New Horizons, I was playing in the background of that as well. I got that on release day, the 20th of April. Sorry, 20th of March. I mean, I still got the little pre-order keyring on my keys. And yeah, wonderful times. Mini Ninjas on the PC, 9th of April 2020. That was a game I'd played the demo of on the PlayStation 3 as a kid. I finally finished it off on PC. It was okay as a game. I give it maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I just think it was unremarkable. It had an alright art style, but you had a range of characters, but I think as a game it was quite bland in personality. But then that might be just me expecting something much more exciting and in-depth because I'd come from a background of growing up playing the Tenchu games. Mini Ninjas was okay, but it's not something I don't think I'd ever play again. And I played it on Steam, and I've never had any interest in picking up a physical copy. So it was alright, but even though it's not really comparable to Tenchu, and I do know that, like I say, having grown up playing that as a kid, coming to Mini Ninjas, it kind of, when I first played it at 11 or 12, it kind of just felt like baby's first Tenchu, and I know that's not a fair comparison, but like I said, I played through it to completion, and there is strategy to be had with the different characters, and the girl who plays the little flute, there's lovely touches to it, and it's nice artistically and it's stylized, but I don't know. I just think the game in general, it's just a bit primitive in areas. I'm being mean, I know. The next game was the day after that, so the 10th of April 2020 on the PlayStation 4. I finished Uncharted Drake's Fortune. That game, in the most complimentary sense, and this goes for all the Uncharted games, they're like a series of films that last about 8 to 10 hours and are fully playable. They have a really good sense of adventure, like Pirates of the Caribbean or Indiana Jones or something. And in the characters and the characterizations are so strong, and all the different globe-trotting aspects and the adventure of it all. It's literally like a playable film, and it was a really fun time from start to finish. I was very, very heavily immersed in Uncharted. It was brilliant. The day after that, on the 11th of April, I whizzed through the rather short The Walking Dead Michonne game, the Telltale game on PC. It was okay. Those Telltale games are usually very primitive with choices that matter that don't really matter because you always get to the same point anyway. And it might be like someone doesn't die then, but then they die later. It's always a bit boring, really. But it was an interesting sort of interactive media experience. It was decent. Then on the 30th of May, on my Xbox, I completed the Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. And I thought that was an absolutely wonderful game. And it had such an amazing blend of genres. It had stealth gameplay, first-person shooter combat. It had mini hub worlds where you do different quests, side quests, fetch quests, different tasks and jobs and chores, exploring all the individual parts of this prison, working with the inmates to do different things. Do this for that person, you get a shiv which allows you to do that and go there to get this weapon. And it has the survival horror aspect, and it blended all these different styles of gameplay and all these different genres and tones to make this wonderful sort of experience of trying to escape this prison. Oh, it was an amazing game. I don't know why more people don't talk about that. But then later that same day, I finished my playthrough of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, and that was another wonderful experience. Very much, again, like it just having a big hug. I played as a little Skitty, and my Pokemon companion character was a Bulbasaur. I absolutely loved the shit out of that game from start to finish. a really underrated Pokemon title on the Switch, and it was just, I love the soundtrack of it, and it was really nice. It was a really cool experience being pulled in, like you've become a Pokemon and you have to like rescue other Pokemon. It's just a really wholesome little game. I love that Mystery Dungeon gameplay. I loved. I'll probably do a video on this individually at some point. The Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, Everybody on the Switch as well. I finished that earlier this year. But I love that Mystery Dungeon style of gameplay, where if you're not familiar with it, you move one space, and then every time you move, or for every action you take, healing, attacking, the opposition, all the enemies on the map also move. So everyone takes a move or an action at the same time. So it's got a strategy element to it as well. For every move you take, your enemy can also move. So you've got to really think what you're doing in each given moment. Brilliant game, though. I recommend it. On the 10th of June 2020, I finished my playthrough of Flat Out Ultimate Carnage on the PC. So this was released on consoles as well, and it was known as Flat Out Head On PSP, which is where I originally experienced it. Fantastic arcadey destruction racing game with loads of great event types, the Destruction Derby, traditional races, all sorts of crazy things like darts and bowling with cars. Great soundtrack, very playable now, verified on Steam Deck as well as the first Flat Out game. I recommend you pick that up if you haven't already. Then on the 18th of June 2020 was Maneater, the shark RPG, or the shark PG, I think they called it. You play as a shark, you sort of level up and evolve in different ways to be able to eat more prey and predators, and then you have to level up to eating and killing the human hunters in each different zone. It's set like in New Orleans or the swampy area, I think, isn't it? And you've got like all that the beaches you can jump onto the land and eat all the tourists. It's a brilliant game, very unique, playing as a shark and eating people and other prey. It's brilliant. It has a lot more depth to it than its perhaps silly novelty description might sound. Then there was Detroit Become Human on the 26th of June 2020, which I had an interesting time with. I got mostly a good ending. Somehow I screwed up one of the characters in the last possible death they could possibly have in the entire game, just because No, that's going to be its own video. I'll leave that there. I'm still bitter about that. I screwed up so much. It's very annoying. But it was a very well crafted narrative experience. Not something I'd personally play again, so I did sell it on. But hey, it left a lasting impression on me, and it had perhaps the most bittersweet but positive ending I could have gotten. Even though I'm annoyed with the bit that went wrong, but it turned out okay for the other two characters. Oh, anyway. Project Gotham Racing 2, I finished in July 2020. Unfortunately, forgot to note down the exact day, and with no trophy list for the Xbox, I don't know the exact day I completed Project Gotham Racing 2, but I consider it one of my absolute favourite racing games of all time. It's a phenomenal game with wonderful gameplay. It's got lovely graphics, variety of cars, soundtrack, lovely race tracks and different locales and race types. It's the first game that actually feels like Project Gotham Racing has its own identity. The first Project Gotham Racing just felt like Metropolis Street Racer 2. Project Gotham Racing 2 feels like the start of the franchise, and it's a very, very strong start. It's an absolutely wonderful game. I got it for 50p. I brought in a handful of 2p coins, put them on a shop counter in early, I think maybe like January 2020 or something, and I was like, I want this game. Only 50p. Bargain. Then after that was Infamous Second Son, which I completed on the 23rd of July 2020. That was an alright game. I enjoyed the different powers. The story was really short. It skips over character development and building relationships with a lot of characters. So yeah, had a few cliche story beats. The villain was a bit underdeveloped. I mean, it was a mediocre game. It felt like very much like a rushed title, to be honest, and it's annoying because the franchise Infamous, the first game was phenomenal. The second game I thought was crap. The vampire game was alright. Infamous Second Son was just mediocre. I never bothered with the prequel, sequel, standalone DLC thing, Infamous First Light. I feel like it's a franchise that I could just do a complete remakes, to be honest. Like, I won't be bothered. In fact, given the weirdness of there being two voice actors for the original protagonist, I think if you just do a remake with a brand new voice actor dubbing over everything, then it would create consistency over the first and second games. I'm normally very against remake culture and stuff, but I do feel in some cases where I feel that the original games need it in some way. Because I love the first game, but I do understand from a technological perspective it's janky and whatever. And I know the second game seems to be significantly more popular, but there's a lot of heart that I feel it's missing from the first game. If I feel both games were remade in a more modern engine with a new voice cast and kept consistent, then they're both an equal consistent experience then. Yeah, that's what I feel. I do always feel you should have the original option as well, though. So I feel if a remake is done, then they should release remasters of the original experience as well as, or just put a straight like HD port of the original game, like as a bonus feature in a remake. I feel the original experience should always be available, but yeah, Infamous franchise is a funny one. I do feel it would benefit from remakes actually. Then after that is Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. I'm not going to go into that too much or the story and everything. Kingdom Hearts is crazy, but it had great gameplay, wonderful soundtrack, loads of cool boss fights. It really helped challenge myself, strategizing. I enjoyed collecting all little Dream Eater creatures, getting lost in all different worlds, trying to find out what I needed to do next, grinding and leveling up, coming up with different builds and strategizing, and trying and failing and trying again with different bosses, and just, you know, the whole RPG loop of getting better was wonderful. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves was the next one I finished on the 5th of August 2020. Then I've noted down Valley Sport Challenge 2, the 19th of August 2020, and it's got a little X next to it. And this is on the Xbox. Now the X signifies something that's a largely unused statistic in my data sheets, shall we say, and it signifies a game completed under extenuating circumstances / a playthrough that kind of died on its arse. So I was right near the end of Valley Sport Challenge 2, and well, this is why I've bought a new sealed pristine copy now. The disc was scratched and it would crash on occasion, and it just so happened on this occasion it crashed while it was saving the game. I lost my entire 15+ hour playthrough. Yay! So I invested in buying a memory card for the Xbox, which plugs directly into the controller, like something like the Dreamcast or whatever. So I'd never lose data again. I'd always have regular backups. And then I tried to buy a new copy of Valley Sport Challenge 2 when it was dodgy, so I bought another one that was dodgy, and now I've got a brand new pristine copy. I have, in 2024, I did actually complete the game, a whole new playthrough from start to finish. I did complete the game, still faced loads of crashes, but I got there. But now I've got a brand new copy. I should hopefully not have crashes ever again. Yay. But I still consider it a completion. Like I say, it's not a full completion because I didn't get to the end point, but I'm marking it as that playthrough ended there. Like with an asterisk, with a million asterisks, under unfortunate circumstances, that playthrough did end. It was completed by force, whether I like it or not. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception on the 2nd of September 2020 on the PlayStation 4. Then Kingdom Hearts 3 on the 20th of September 2020. Playing Kingdom Hearts 3 was so cool, seeing such a technological leap for the franchise, experiencing like Toy Story world was a particular highlight, and Monsters Inc. Whew, wonderful. It was great seeing those Pixar franchises in the series, and it still had that heart and identity that I grew up with when I played the first game when I was 3 years old. I do think the story's ending is a little bit too tied neatly with a bow, a little bit too cheery, basically undoing every negative outcome and making every character come back to life. And I thought the recast Xehanort with that Dutch guy was beyond miscast, and it sounded awful. But The gameplay wise, it was good. Grid 2, 27th of September 2020. Very solid racing game, a great Codemasters title that I've revisited since. Theatrhythm Final Fantasy on the 27th of September 2020. Absolutely wonderful rhythm game. The sequel is far better though. Dirt 3 on the 2nd of October 2020 was a great time. Then I get into a bit of a rhythm. Need for Speed Undercover on the 8th of October 2020 on PC. Need for Speed Carbon Own the City at an unspecified timing on October 2020 on the PSP. Then we've got Need for Speed The Run, the 3DS version, Halloween 2020. The day after that was on my birthday, and that was on my 2DS XL. Then Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 on the 7th of November 2020 on my PS Vita. So a lot of Need for Speed. Yakuza Kiwami 2, the 24th of November 2020 on the PlayStation 4, followed by the remaster of Yakuza 3 on the 27th of November 2020. Then LA Noire on the 1st of December 2020. Why do I keep saying 2020? You know it's 2020, that's what the whole video is about. I should stop saying the year. But anyway, that was on the Xbox 360. That was a wonderful game. And then Uncharted Golden Abyss on the 7th of December on my PS Vita, followed by Super Pokemon Rumble on the 12th of December, and Flower on the 28th of December on my PS Vita. Super Pokemon Rumble was on my 2DS XL. So yeah, I've kind of flown through quite a lot of games all in a row there, but I generally didn't really have much to say about them specifically. Uncharted was a fantastic experience. All of the entries I played, the rest of the Yakuza games were all great. The Need for Speed games were all cool. What a note about Need for Speed Undercover, the final race, it glitched for me and I fell through the map, and then it said, oh, you're losing her, because it's like you have to chase someone. And yeah, I kind of fell through the map. It's not my fault. Fuck off, EA. The hell. I'll try and put that image on screen if I have access to it. Yeah, Need for Speed The Run on the 3DS was fun. I've never played the actual normal version of The Run. I've only ever played the Wii/3DS versions. Super Pokemon Rumble was a great Pokemon beat-em-up game. You play as Clockwork Pokemon games. A very underrated, not really spoken about Pokemon game. Flower is a lovely, relaxing experience where you control petals in the wind and restore the landscape. It's all about nature and it's lovely. And LA Noire was, a great storytelling game. I don't need to probably go into that much. But overall, according to my stats, I completed 30 games and then one under special exemption, which was Valley Sport Challenge 2. So I completed 30 or 31 if you include my slaughtered playthrough of Valley Sport Challenge 2. So yeah, that was my year in gaming for 2020. Hope you found that interesting. It's nice looking back at the old data lists and seeing what I played and what platforms I played on and what mindsets I was in, hyperfixations I had back in the day. I hope you found it interesting. Would you like to see more of these videos? Well, they're going to happen anyway, so deal with it. But thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video.